God.
You want them cold?
Oh, I start with my Lakeside, please.
Just
That's my absolute favorite. This one right here, Lakeside Cold. Yeah.
There you go.
Wow. Oh, I'm so happy I'm
The
here.
rest will still be in the fridge in case you want to change it up.
It's delicious. I was like, there's no way they're gonna get the right one because I just did Lake of the Woods Brewing, and you guys, this is my all-time favorite beer right here. Best summer beer I've ever had. Right here in my hands. Yeah.
That was actually the last one I picked. I'm like, I don't
Really?
know which
Really?
one to pick.
Yeah. I actually have a commercial coming up with Trans Canada Brewery.
That's the Bomber one.
TCB or whatever.
Yeah.
So they have the Ryder 12 pack that has 13 beers in it or whatever. So they've got
we're getting right out the
they've
gate.
recruited a bunch of us, like me and Walby, and Irving's going to be in it, and Derek Taylor. Apparently, they launched it last year, and a number of people in Saskatchewan got really upset about it or whatever. So now they're trying to make it bigger and better. You get it's the Saskatchewan dozen, right? You get 13 instead of 12. It's like a baker's dozen, right?
Get your earballs ready. Welcome to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Take time to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
We wanted you a long time ago because we want somebody who's been in the NFL, the CFL, an all-star, a all-around good Winnipeg guy who likes to go to West Hawk, right?
Oh yeah, that was my big thing for especially. I don't have a pontoon boat anymore, so I used to have one, but and I used to go up there religiously after Bomber games. Right, win, lose, or draw, we would go up there. If we won, we'd put our Bomber flag on the pontoon boat or whatever. If we lost, we'd just keep it down because we didn't want to.
Man, 2010 would have.
But it was the biggest cold tub up there ever. Right, so we take the life jackets and we put our legs through and wear it like a diaper. So we just float in the lake and we would drink beer, but you'd feel so good by the time you came out. It was perfect for the day after.
Well, you'd be numb from the beer and from the lake.
Tom Canada and I, in like the fourth quarter of a game, we'd be like turning to each other. I'd be like, West Hawk. And you're like, yeah. Like we'd be psyching. We always wanted to go up there after a win. It was a lot more fun, right? We'd celebrate a lot more. So we would always use that as inspirational dialogue between us because he was a co-captain when we went up there.
So you guys are just like regular dudes then. Like me and Tim are like doing something like this and we're like, hey, wings later or wings later, right?
It feels like we started.
We did start kind of.
Did we?
Want to do the
Is it recording?
Yes, everything's recording.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
You want to
welcome to the Greg and Tim Show. This week our Greg and Tim Show is brought to you by Red Bull.
No, it's not.
Wait. No,
not yet.
Oh, okay.
You want to reach out to Lake of the Woods Brewing Company? They're local now. They're in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
they have their own restaurant.
And it's the favorite beer of our guest today.
Yes.
Who is Doug Brown, 8-time All-Star for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Yeah.
One of the best defensive players we've ever had in this city.
Ring of Honor player in Winnipeg.
Played in the NFL.
Yeah.
Regular great guy. We heard great things about him, and we have him in the studio. Welcome here.
Welcome, Doug.
Thanks for having me on here, guys.
We've been chatting for a little bit already, but I want to start this show off with a little bit of a contest for you.
A contest.
Am I gonna
have to chug this?
You're not gonna have to chug it, so don't worry about chugging this.
I'm almost 50 now. Okay, I don't do these things anymore. But
if you want to chug it, feel free.
That's not part of it, but you can.
Okay.
This is going to have a little bit of a football twist and a little bit of a gambling twist for Vegas, as I kind of gave you a pre-thing for that. What we'd like to do is talk about a little bit about what you were talking about on the post-game show last week, which was, is it a gamble in the CFL to go on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, that type of thing, when you're at your own like 35-yard line? Or is it a gamble to kick it and give the guys the ball back, only needing 10 to 15 yards to get a field goal? We're going to get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
But on the gambling thing, I've got a coin here. It is...
We're going to gamble.
It is a Winnipeg Blue Bomber coin. On one side is the 90th season. On the other side is the Grey Cup champion logo. What we propose as a gamble for you, we will flip this coin. You get to pick one side, heads or tails. Heads will be the cup. Tails will be the 90.
Okay.
If you win, I will FaceTime somebody and say, sorry, I can't talk to you right now. I'm recording the show. If I win, you have to FaceTime Milt Stiegel.
I have to FaceTime Milt Stiegel
and say the exact same thing.
and say, so I'm going to FaceTime him and say
just-
what to him?
You're going to
Just
say,
immediately say, sorry, can't talk right now, Milt. I'm in the middle of the Greg and Tim show. Can I call you back? That's it.
Sure, deal, because he's not going to answer. So yeah,
He's
we'll
not
do it
gonna-
for sure.
well,
I'll
that doesn't
do.
give you
I'll do. I've never FaceTime Milt before, so this will be this will be interesting.
Well,
I'll go
who knows
tails.
if he has? Do you have an iPhone first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So hopefully he has an iPhone. If Milt doesn't work, we can try somebody else. If you
no,
lose.
I want to do Milt because then
He won't answer.
so it'll be good. Yeah, I'll
We got-
I'll go tails because I haven't won a cup before, right?
So the
I'll do
90.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Here we go. Tim, are you ready? Oh, I caught it.
I won.
Oh, Doug won. Well, that's not fun anymore.
That's fun for me.
Okay, I'll have to do it at the end of the show.
Oh, so you're hoping we're gonna forget now?
I was hoping I was going to win.
I'll do it now.
How? You don't have an iPhone.
All right.
I will do it at the end of the show.
Okay.
Because my phone is currently recording the show.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I really thought we were going to win. And
So that segment was just about getting Milt Stiegel's phone.
The different. It's the only way you get him on the show, right? There you go.
He
He
is.
lives,
we
in,
lost.
he lives in Atlanta, right? So it's going to be hard
No.
out here, right? So he does
Yeah.
come to town, but you gotta, if you want to get Milt here.
Well, they have direct flights to Atlanta now.
No, he's saying that you have to open up your wallet.
Yeah, if you want him to come,
Okay.
Yeah.
Just go to his
get him
house.
here.
Just go to his house
You have his
He's
address,
in
right?
house.
in Atlanta.
I have a, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
he lives
he's got
in
his
Atlanta.
address.
You guys go international, huh? Get your passports ready. There you go.
We're not above doing any of that kind of stuff. Going international, going anywhere.
Take the show
to get
on
the
the
show.
road.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So,
You guys
Doug,
are- yes.
you said, and I know this, you're turning 50
Mhm.
in September.
Yes.
So, serious question here.
September 29th, right?
Ooh, Libras.
I know.
I didn't know that's kind of creepy. So,
I do my homework, Tim.
very serious question. Where's the guys' trip for your 50th, and where do we book?
Wow. So that's funny because I did book one. I'm going fishing, Queen Charlotte Islands. So end of August, I'll be up there with 3 guys. We fly to Vancouver on the Thursday, that last weekend in August. Stay the night in Vancouver. You fly out of the South Terminal the next day.
Okay.
It's a 3-hour flight north.
No
Like, I'm
way.
from BC, right?
Yeah.
So you figured I would know the West Coast.
Yeah.
And it's 3 hours north. You're almost at Alaska. And then you get off the plane there, you get on a helicopter, and then you go to the lodge. So it's called the Queen Charlotte Lodge.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of Aikens Lake. I don't know if you guys have heard of Aikens Lake
Yep,
heard of it.
in northern Manitoba.
Yep.
I try to go there every year. But just because I'm turning 50, I've decided I want to step it up a little bit, right? You only turn 50
Yeah.
once, as it turns out. So this trip is almost bankrupted me, but it should hopefully be nice to catch a 50-pound salmon or something like that.
So a plane
on
to
my
a plane
50th.
to a helicopter to the lodge.
Plane to a helicopter to the lodge. Yes,
That
and then
sounds
on
like a blast.
Yeah, and it's only if you fish Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back Monday, kind of thing. It's not very long,
Yeah.
and they charge a lot of money. But yeah, it'll be something. I grew up, as you guys know, I grew up on the West Coast. So
Yeah.
my dad had subscriptions to like BC Sports Fisherman and West Coast Fishing and all these kind of things. So I used to read all these magazines about how you can catch a halibut that's so big. They use a sawed-off shotgun to kill it before they bring it on the boat because it'll break your legs.
Yeah, right.
Break your legs and all the boat equipment and everything. It'll cost thousands of dollars worth of damage and or, a trip to the emergency room. So I grew up reading these things, and my dad's he's been to Campbell River. He didn't take me with him, but so I was like, I have done some salmon fishing, obviously on the West Coast, but nothing to this extent. So that's why I figured it'd be a memorable trip.
So salmon are they as big as like a tuna?
Well, salmon, it would be, so, I mean, there's different varieties, right?
Yeah.
There's salmon, it's supposed to be the best salmon and halibut fishing in the world.
Okay.
So halibut can get up to 300-400 pounds. It's like
Wow.
it's like reeling in a wet mattress is what they say. I've never
Okay.
caught one before. And then if you, like a king salmon, if you get something that is like a tai salmon, which is anything over 30 pounds, then you're pretty happy
Yeah.
about that. So
So this is a guided trip.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm not doing this, but those waters out there, Queen Charlotte Islands, you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then when you vastly overpay for your trip like this, they'll even what are they, shrink wrap, or they vacuum pack your catch or whatever, and then so you can they'll put it on ice or whatever, and you can bring it back with you.
And you can bring it back. Like there's no like legalities to bring it back into the province.
But you're still in Canada, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's okay.
We talked fishing last episode. Was it last episode? And Greg said he likes
Avery caught a huge fish.
And Greg said he really, really likes to fish other than the fishing part, right?
No, I love fishing. I don't like taking it off the hook. And I don't
That's what guys are for.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys are. Wait a minute, that's not nice.
My partner, she comes to Aiken's Lakes with me every year. I don't think she's ever baited her hook or ever took a fish off.
I will bait my hook. I will bait my hook. Do not give me that.
No, he likes to sit there with the beers.
I grew up fishing all the time because I lived up in Thompson for a long time, and my grandparents had a cabin up.
So you got street cred, huh?
Exactly, yeah. And just not fishing street cred, but my grandparents had a cabin in Paint Lake, and we'd go fishing like every day. And I always grew up with my uncle or my grandpa, just like I would bait the hook. They'd show me how to do that, and then they would take it off. And the reason being is because we caught a lot of jackfish. Right, and as a kid, like you're like 7, 8, 9 years old, those fish bite. Like those jackfish bite. I don't know if you know that.
Like your hands and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I never had.
They have teeth
before, but yeah,
most
fish have teeth, but
no, like real teeth.
You get any master? You get any master anglers?
We're just gonna cut the whole show out to start. Let's restart here.
No. And he said you had street cred in Thompson, but there's two types of people in Thompson. One was street cred and one that hung out of the bowling alley. And Greg was the one that hung out of the bowling alley.
Safest place possible.
My grandparents own the bowling alley.
Have you caught any master angler fish?
I caught a pickerel that was big. I don't know if it's master angler. I didn't measure it.
He got a perch. One time he got a little perch.
I do have a little perch. I have it mounted out there.
Is it okay if I spray some of my beer at some point across the room?
You're going to need another one in a second. I have caught a perch and a pickerel and a jack, all that kind of stuff. But I've caught tuna in Mexico.
Okay.
So I've reeled in real fish.
Okay.
So I know what it's like.
Do you get strapped in the chair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's and like you're like literally reeling for like an hour to get these fish in.
It's good times.
Yeah.
I've done that too.
It's a lot of work. But I was much younger.
Yellowfin, bluefin? What was it?
Silver fish.
you know your aquatic species very well. Okay, there you go.
This isn't a fun show so far.
I'm having a great.
It's my favorite show so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I pick on Tim for
No, let's not do that.
First, I lost my gamble. Yeah. I lost my gamble, so we didn't get that.
Our producer is going to pick who he calls, right? He's calling at the end of the show. You're not going to forget, and you're going to determine who he's calling, right? Thank you. Anyway, let's transition a little bit. Without saying you play football, without saying you are on radio doing the Bomber games, who is Doug Brown?
These days I'm definitely just a girl dad. But that's a huge title. I'm also an old dad. So I turned 50 this year, as we've already discussed, if that makes it to the program or not.
Oh, it will.
And
trust me,
I have a 5-year-old little girl, and that's my whole jam right now. I go to work, and usually most days, except for when I'm on this show, and she's going to be sitting there waiting for me to pick her up. But most of the time I go pick her up after school.
Daddy?
That's 45 minutes ago.
We made alternate arrangements. Her mom's going to get her today. But I literally, it's my favorite part of the day is when I get to go pick her up. And right now we've got a pool at our house. So she's swimming, she goes to hockey lessons, she's in gymnastics, she's doing skating. And that's if I'm not working, that is what, and any fitness regimen I have, it is just to try and be able to keep up with her.
Yeah.
So it's, she's 5 years old. So that means there's only 8 years left before she starts to hate me, and she's a teenager. So I'm trying to very much enjoy and it's fascinating, right? Like if I go away on a road trip, I'll be going to Calgary this week for the Bomber game, and I'll leave Friday. I'll get back Sunday. and you feel like you missed something.
Yeah.
Like they change so much and they grow up so fast or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Like if you spend any amount of time away from her, you're like, you're different now. You're bigger and you're throwing new words at me and all these kind of things. So
and
conversation,
she's a girl, so there's a lot of sass probably.
Oh yeah. Well, she's so much attitude that she gets from her mom. And it's just like the conversations I could just sit there and talk. Like that's my favorite thing. And when I pick her up from school, from kindergarten, by the way, she just had graduation. It's such a big deal, by the way. Like I know I never had it. We never had graduation from kindergarten. Like they had a production, they had a video. It's like you have to dress up. I'm like, what are we going to here? And they even call themselves. She's like, I'm not a kinder anymore. And I was like, I've never heard that word in my entire life. But now you go into grade 1, it's a big change apparently.
Was she valedictorian?
Yeah. I don't know. It might have been, but I don't know where I was going with that. But anyways,
things are changing.
Things are changing. There you go. It's just, it's so much fun just to hang out with her. And it's just weird how that's what my life has become now, right?
Did you ever like have expectations of being a parent? Like what surprised you about the things about being a dad? What is kind of, you didn't realize that you would, because you say it's the joy of your life, but what is that you maybe expected and what's come of it? And what did you expect? Like I said,
it's amazing how much you just become invested and you buy into, and you know, everything, who said something. One of the first things I say to her every time I pick her up is like, was anyone mean to you? Because I would find out who their dad is, and then I will go have a little conversation.
And you're bigger than every one of their dads, right?
I'm like, you make sure you tell the other kids that everyone says that your dad, their dad can beat up someone else's dad, but your dad really can't.
Yeah, I remember
make sure you tell the other kids that now.
Can you imagine your kids being bullied by Doug's kid, and you're like, find out who her dad is, and then you go and approach him?
No, just feed him beers and he's gonna be happy, and we're gonna hash it out.
Send me a sternly worded letter.
Yeah. No, it's an email. We don't do letters anymore.
That's true. Yeah, no, it's just you're right. I never thought, I was like, oh, I can't wait till I'm a parent, right? Because I played football. I played football till I was 37, right? Professional football. So I started when I was 22 and I finished when I was 37. So there is a stanza of your life where you don't grow up at all. Yeah. Right. Every year there are 21-year-olds on your team, right? So you just keep doing what they're doing, and you don't mature, you don't grow up. Everything is just a game, and you're having fun till you're forced to go into the real world after the fact. And then, so this is something, I think I always knew at some point I'd be a parent, but I had no idea it would affect me to this degree where I'd just be happy to do nothing else other than hang out with my daughter, when I get home from work. It's pretty bizarre. So, but like I give her swimming lessons every day. Like it's just, I'm watching her progress and take chances and be brave and things like that. It just makes you proud. So it's a lot of fun.
So I have 3 daughters, 18, 19, and 20 years old.
Wow. So you're in it.
Yeah. So I've been
through
the
war right now.
18.
He's almost over it now.
I'm to the point where the 13 to 15-year-old wasn't so bad. And it's not bad after, but the 16 to 19, I found that was the hardest.
Okay.
But anyway, so my 18-year-old, we just had grad yesterday, the day before. And so we did
congratulations.
Thanks. The daddy-daughter dance, and there's tears going everywhere.
And crying.
I saw a picture you were crying.
No, I mean,
he
no comment.
He doesn't cry at anything, but I saw a picture.
Yeah.
And then your daughter drew a photo of it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She actually.
Trust me, daughters don't grow out of drawing photos
with crayons.
There was
drawing with crayons.
There was a picture that was taken at the daughter dance.
It's on her, right there.
And she actually did a portrait or a drawing of that picture.
Is there an accurate rendition of you?
Yeah. So I'll show it to you.
You just click on her at the top.
Yeah, but that's not going.
Click on her at the top.
I like how you're teaching him how to use his phone.
I know.
It's fun.
So this is the picture of the dance.
Oh wow!
And the next one.
Wow, you're not even making eye contact with her because you know you're gonna cry. He's looking like away.
I knew the song I was singing. So you could tell.
Was it your guys' song? No,
it's not. No. And that's the picture she drew of it.
Well, that's actually pretty. Wow,
Yeah.
much better than my 5-year-old. I have to say, that's
as they get older, they get better.
that is that's a highly skilled artist you have there.
So anyway,
That's fantastic. Good for you. Congratulations.
You have to toot Avery's horn a little bit. It's her graduation. So.
Yeah. And it's funny, you just mentioned you give your daughter swimming lessons, but one of the things that people don't know about you is that before you became a football player, you were a competitive swimmer.
Yes.
And a competitive rugby player.
Yes.
I don't know if did you know that?
Not until you told me.
Yeah. So you
yesterday.
literally can give her swimming lessons.
Yeah, in terms of something that people don't know, a lot of people can beat me in running races, but not in the pool. I'm like a giant orca, like a killer whale. I just porpoise through the. A lot of people try to like cut through the water when they swim. I just try to move the water out of the way.
Like Moses?
He splits the seas.
I just displace so much water that I'm actually walking on the bottom. And
when he pushes off with his legs,
oh my God,
halfway to the end.
I just remembered something. I actually have on my phone. I want to give it to you guys so you can put it in the show because John Oosterhouse will hate this. It's probably like 10 years ago. I used to go with a bunch of guys. We would swim Cindy Clausen every Sunday morning at like 7 a.m. We'd go swim 60 laps. And I have so John Oosterhouse played. He's one of my favorite bombers of all time. We played similar era, and we were road roommates and everything like that. Anyways, I raced him for money. Yeah, and I have that video. Since
Did he know that you were a competitive swimmer?
I warned him.
Okay.
So here's the fight. Everyone bet on him though. That was the thing, right? Because he would always, I didn't know when you swim 60 laps, you're just like, oh, this is agonizing, right?
Yeah.
So he would always finish first.
Yeah.
And I was like, John, this doesn't mean you're a faster swimmer than me. He's like, well, obviously I am. So.
Oh, you're pacing yourself and he's.
Well, not even that. I'm a sprinter, right? I'm not a
So you just did one lap?
No, we did 50 freestyle.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we'll give you guys a clip.
Let's show the clip right now, Tim.
Okay, go ahead.
Go. Okay, Dougie's in the lead.
Attaboy.
What did you win? What was it?
I won money.
How much?
So there's
if you're allowed to say how much you stole from him.
Yeah, no, there's
it's a wager.
7 or 8 of us that swam.
Yeah.
Okay. And they all bet on John. So I had to back myself 8 times over.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I won like $160 or something like that. 140, 160. 10 years ago. That was a lot of money. Now you can buy a coffee for that.
That's like 0.5% of your trip to about that.
My back is off. That's the airport tax of flying into Vancouver.
It's not even
no, actually, no.
For Vancouver, you're paying a lot more than that. So you actually, it's funny that you say girl dad because it's actually in one of my questions whether you consider yourself a girl dad. Before girl dad became like the words to be used for.
That's what all the cool kids call it.
Right? Yeah, is girl dad. Right?
I never knew we had a classification.
No, and I was never cool. Whatever.
You never got to be girl dad, even though you were a girl dad, but you didn't get to use that moniker.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm a girl dad as well. I've got a daughter who's 8 years old, and I've got 3 sons that are 10, 18, and 23. So
you guys like your kids out here.
Just
I can't even handle one.
It's Transcona, man.
Are you saying you're done?
Oh yeah.
You're done at 1?
Medically
done at 1.
Yes.
Should we cut to the clip?
We've got video of that too on my phone. If you
We're not cutting to the clip, but I gotta ask my question first.
Yeah.
So I read that your daughter was born on September 7th, which your number is 97.
Yes, I did not realize that while I was at the hospital, and until one of the grandmas made the connection for me. And it was getting late. It was getting late in the day. It was like 11 something. She was born. I took a picture of the clock. She had about 12 minutes left to be born before I was going to make sure that emergency cesarean or something was going to happen. You have to grab the this needs to happen today.
So my actual question is, why did you originally pick 97?
It was my first year pro.
Oh, okay.
So after I left Simon Fraser University, the former football program place that doesn't have a football team anymore. I got drafted by the Calgary Stampeders, but while Wally Buono was arguing with me over probably $75. Marv Levy from the Bills called and asked if I wanted to have free agents sign a free agency deal with the Bills.
Yeah.
So I took that.
Yeah.
And that was the first year.
How do you find out about you? Like, because Marv Levy is a fairly historic figure in the NFL.
He's also I believe he's in the Hall of Fame in the CFL as well. He spent some time with.
So he had some connections.
Yeah, and he also when I went to the Bills, Tim Tyndale was a Canadian, and oh my God, the kicker. He's not gonna get mad because I don't talk to him anymore. But whatever his name was, a famous Canadian kicker. That kicked for the Bills. No. It's a famous Manitoba Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Steve something. I can't remember. If you guys look it up, if you look up like 1997 Buffalo Bills kicker, he's a Canadian guy.
Christie?
Steve Christie. There you go. Yeah. So Tim Tyndale and Steve Christie and I, we'd bring out like hockey nets on at Rich Stadium after practice sometimes and play street hockey just to get back in touch with our roots. And everyone else would look at us because they were from Arkansas and Alabama and everything.
Don't know what's going on.
Why are these guys playing street hockey at Rich Stadium? So it was fun. That was a Canadian connection. That's how they got a hold of us.
Little known fact, it was actually the Bombers GM Dave Ritchie who called the Bills and said, "Hey, you should look at this guy from Calgary before he plays against us."
Okay.
You almost spit it out.
Very little known.
Very little. It's so little known.
It's so little known. I don't even know if Dave Ritchie was with the Bombers at that time.
97?
No, he's there 99 or 2000.
Yeah, he was there close to when you were there, right?
Yeah, it was Reinbold was 97. He was up.
Yeah, he wasn't calling anybody. He was too busy driving his motorcycle. Any comments on Reinbold?
Any comments on? I've never met him.
Yeah.
Obviously, like he's been on every team in the CFL imaginable, and it's weird because he's got a Twitter account. It's all capitals, right? Everything he says is all capitals all the time.
Oh, really?
So I just kind of stay away from that. That's like a red flag for me.
Yeah.
People that text or type.
Maybe he just can't figure out how to take the capitals off.
He's just very emphatic.
It's always capital.
He's always yelling from his computer.
All I know is everything I read from him. He's always yelling at me. So I've never actually met him or spoken to him. But
he seems like a very chill guy on the sidelines. But anyway,
he's a surfer dude.
Yeah.
So
I would like to hear the story about a place called Elite Fitness.
Oh Jesus!
And a person named Mike Kelly.
Wow. I have never. That's so funny.
He also needs his beer topped up. If we can do that before he answers the question.
Would you like your other beer?
Well, I'm going to need another one for sure. But what do you want to know about that?
I don't know the story, but I've been told it's a really good one.
We were told to ask that's one of two questions, and that's number one.
That's funny because I've never discussed that before. Yeah, you could say this was so Mike and I didn't always see eye to eye. We could do a whole show on why we didn't get along or whatever, but
yes,
at the end of his tenure, that's where I worked out. And I was not very happy with him. Our interaction, our relationship wasn't great. And then he showed up at the gym. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I'll need both these. No, he came into my gym shortly after the termination and we had a lot of words for each other. So it was
in the gym.
It was very mutual. Yes. In the gym in front of a
lot of people.
Yeah. It got, I don't think I've ever been that angry or animated or heated in my life, but yeah. And he was at the same register, I would say. So it was interesting. Yeah.
Two like red-blooded football loving guys that meet up in a gym that don't see eye to eye. It's bound to happen. I'm sure it happens in locker rooms that I don't even hear the stories about.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you there are so many fights like in the 11 years, well, not even in just the CFL. So if I played 15 years of pro ball, there's probably 2 or 3 a year, like full on fist fights that happen. in a locker room. A lot of time it's after a game. It's right before the media is allowed
Shows
in
up.
the locker room. Like a guy bleeding. Oh, it's from the game. No, actually, I just got punched in the face. But yeah, no, there's. But things. I mean, that's the nature of the game, right? It's so it can be very emotional. It can be very people get hot tempered, and it's yeah. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the locker room that people aren't aware of. So.
Yeah, it's hard to really understand what a locker room mentality is. We were actually talking about Paul Maurice being the coach of the Jets and whether or not he was the right person for the Jets at the time and how everybody like got on him and everything like that. The difference between Paul Maurice in front of the media and Paul Maurice in front of the locker room would probably be two different people that we probably wouldn't even recognize.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. His decorum with the media it's profound, right? Like you watch him, he's so polished. He's such a professional. He controls the narrative. Like it's just, I wouldn't even, I've never been a full-time media person, but like you're just at his disposal in those, but he doesn't do it in a way that makes you, it's off-putting at all, right? So he's
like crack jokes. He puts you at ease.
Yeah. And he's just not going to talk about it. If he doesn't like your question, he's just going to go somewhere else with it.
Yeah.
And he's just, he's a master of his craft in that. I love watching him talk.
Yeah.
Like I'm not an athlete anymore. And I'm just like, wow, I'd love to play for a coach like that. Right. Just because his command, right. And his directness and just how authoritative he is and how he commands a room is just, it's tremendous.
How many coaches did you have in your playing time?
So I had Marv Levy, Norv Turner, Marty Schottenheimer, and then I had Dave Ritchie, I had Jim Daly, Doug Barry, Mike Kelly, and then Paul Appolice.
So you've had quite a few coaches in your time. Any of those stick out to you as kind of a personality you connected with best?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Norv Turner. I wasn't with Marv long enough, and it was like Marv's last year in the NFL as a coach, and he was like in his late 70s and such. So I really revered Norv Turner. I mean, it was early in my career as well, the opportunities I got, but Dave Ritchie is certainly one that I connected the most with. You talk about, it's cliche, the kind of coach that you'll run through a wall for, right?
Yeah,
they're like father figures to players, and you just want to do good by them.
Yeah.
And you want to make them proud of you, and you just want to, Dave Ritchie is a guy that wore his emotions on a sleeve, right? So you definitely knew when you did well or when you did poorly. He would let you know. He didn't pull any strings about it. And he was a guy I think there was a span of 3 or 4 years in the CFL. We won more games than any other club playing for him. Unfortunately, we didn't win the Grey Cup, but we had a very successful run. And in large part, it was because of how his players responded to him and revered him as a coach. Easy to get motivated by a guy like that.
That was 2004 was his Grey Cup with you, right?
2001.
2001?
Yeah.
2001, 2007, 2000.
I think Daly took over in 2004.
Went to.
Yeah. 2001, 2007, 2011. Yeah.
As far as coaching is concerned, I always find it's kind of a balance between being a hard ass, but really caring about your players. Yeah. And I always found that Dave Ritchie kind of balanced that fairly well. Would you agree with that?
And here's the thing though. Totally agree. You have to, you have to be respected. You have to be a leader. You have to be charismatic. Your players have to like you, but you can't fake any of that. You can't manifest any of that. Right. Yeah. So, the coaches that are successful, that's where those aspects of their personality are all genuine.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't have to put on airs. It's not a show for them, to get you, to respond in any of those ways, any of those, qualities that they have. It's just authentically who they are. So players respond to that because they know it's not a dog and pony show up there. Right. Yeah. And that's the worst thing you can do as a head coach, which I've seen on the other end of the spectrum. You try to be something you're not.
Yeah.
A little fake, fake.
Yeah. Because players see through that. Right. Yeah. Another thing too is, especially when you're young, you never want to have like a rookie head coach. I don't think when you're in pro football, because you get tested and then everyone's watching there's always inevitably there's a player that's going to challenge you.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you're a rookie head coach too, because there are players in that room that probably have more standing or getting paid more than you and have more tenure with the club than you do. And I mean, I don't want to talk ill of any of the coaches I had, but there'll be a brand new coach on a football team. A player will challenge. They'll say something to a player. The player might say something back.
Yeah.
And then then it gets quiet.
Yeah.
And we all watch and we're seeing how you respond. And if you don't respond a certain way, we're like, oh, okay, no backbone here, no spine here. We can walk all over this guy.
It's the beginning of the end, basically.
And or if you stand up and like I've had defensive coordinators get called out by a player in a defensive meeting room, and all of a sudden the D coordinator stands up. And the player stands up, and literally another coach has to come separate him because he wasn't going to back down. And now I love that defensive coordinator. I'm like, oh, you don't take any guff from people you're coaching, kind of thing. So it's respect that is earned, and that's the hard thing about when you're a first time coach.
You got to know when you're down in the trenches, right? You're with somebody that's, like you say, got some backbone. Right?
Yeah. If you're going to follow their direction, and you're going to put your long-term well-being on the line mentally and physically and do what a coach says and buy into his program that might not be in your best interest as an individual, you certainly have to believe in who they are and that they're leading you down the right course. And it's a leap of faith, right? Any head coach or coordinator, the system they present, they want you to any of your aspirations out the window. It's team first. They want you to buy into the program. So you really have to believe in who's leading the ship.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever seen the TV show Ted Lasso?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever had a coach like Ted Lasso? Like a coach that really seems like to be a player's coach? A guy that kind of like lets the players, because I feel like the personification of him in the show is he lets the players figure things out. Mm-hmm. He's more of a player's coach, and he'll more be a direction than somebody who's going to direct.
Ted Lasso, I think it's a fantastic program. I don't think it's a viable,
realistic coach
situation for. I would say the closest guy I had to a Ted Lasso is probably a Jim Daly.
Okay.
Nicest man in the entire world. Fantastic relationships with his players and stuff like that, but just didn't, I don't want to say hands off, but involved us too much in decision-making processes where we're like, hey, you just do this kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And, like we had a inner circle and we'd have all these meetings and we're like making decisions that we've never been asked to make before or whatever. So nicest guy ever in the world. Unbelievable coach. Like I loved him.
Yeah.
But I don't think as much as I like the show, I just don't think that's real world applicable.
Yeah. So as a leader, the inference that you're making is that you can't be too nice. There's such a thing as being too nice of a guy. Yeah.
Well, you have to have that ability to, that's my favorite thing about playing for Dave Ritchie was we were treated as well as we played. Yeah. So, when we won games, practice in that week was fantastic, right? Yeah. And this is funny. This is such a deviation from how players are coached today. They just try to keep the environment exactly the same. Win, lose, draw. You win by 50, you lose by 50. Yeah. Everything's the same.
A clean room, basically.
Yeah, no. And Dave Ritchie was, he'll cancel your bye week. Yeah. If you lose going into the bye, you have a play. He didn't care. Right?
He won't allow it anymore.
Now, well, yeah, exactly. Now it's because of people like Dave Ritchie. Yeah. It's now legislated that you cannot touch these players for a certain amount of time because he would damn cancel. Or he's like, we lose this game. You guys think about where you're going next week. Yeah. Well, now you're not going anywhere. We're like, what the heck's going on here, right?
Yeah.
But that's the reality of pro sports. You should let. He's winning or losing, which is the ultimate end goal in professional sports. That, with Dave Ritchie, that determined the environment you played in. So if you're winning, you're in a winning environment. Yeah. You're having a great time. You crack jokes at practice. No, everyone, you don't have to be so serious. Take everything so seriously. Yeah. But when you're losing, you're miserable.
Yeah.
And so you would do everything. I mean, we'd be anxious on the plane ride on the way back to Winnipeg after losses. We're like, oh man, Richie's going to kill us.
Yeah.
After he sees this film, he's going to get we're going to be running. We're going to get punished. We're going to be in full pads 5 times before the game,
Yeah.
And so as a player, that was your Pavlovian dog conditioning. Is that, when you win, you get your bell.
Yeah.
And when you don't, you get hell, right? That was the difference between the two.
So in junior high, when your daughter doesn't get an A, you know what to do now, right?
So you've grown up with coaches that have had both sides, like you said, Jim Daly versus Dave Ritchie.
Yeah.
Even like near the end of your career, when you had a guy like Paul Lapalisse, when stuff's legislated, like you only get to practice 2 days a week, walkthrough is on day 3, and you only wear pads for 2 days a week, that type of thing. You're now a dad.
Mm-hmm.
What coaching style do you bring to your daughter?
Well, I mean, this is extreme situations we're talking about too, right? This is your livelihood. So this is your job. You're getting paid to play a game, right? So I will certainly never be one of those hockey parents. I mean, I would love for my daughter to play hockey, play Olympics maybe one day or in the pro leagues, but until she would get to that level, it's just not necessary, right? And when it becomes your livelihood, when it becomes a profession, that's when things, you got to take the sensitivities out of it.
Yeah.
But I don't think, she's 5 years old right now. She makes me cry more than I make her cry. But yeah, to try and like translate anything I experience as a professional to.
Is that the first time you've said that on the show? That she makes you cry more than you make her cry? We're getting all of them out of it today.
It's very true. Yeah. When I get to that third beer, I'm going full confessional here.
That's when I asked the other question that I got insider information on.
Okay, so your daughter's 5.
Yeah.
I have another question to get to, but before that,
you go ahead.
What's your favorite animated movie of the last 3 years?
Oh, Moana.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah?
No?
Oh, yeah. The music, Maui. So many battle scenes. I got to know all the songs. Like I could sing them word for word.
Can you? Which one would you like to do now? If we can cue that up there.
The one with the crab.
No, we don't have that.
We don't have it queued up. I don't think so. The one with the crab. I don't even know. I don't think I've seen Moana.
You haven't seen Moana?
Wow.
You guys have an 8-year-old daughter. Why haven't you seen Moana?
More advanced.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but not like to the point where I've seen it multiple times. Okay. My kids are really into Minions right now.
Okay.
Has she watched Minions yet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's seen that.
So there's a new one coming out, so it feels like it's being fed, like, because it's on all the streaming things right now.
We like to take her to movies. Like, that's one of the few times you can get her to sit still for, over an hour. It's pretty.
So after you make your phone call, we're going to have Doug do some karaoke, right?
I don't know if I have a karaoke machine.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
You're so serious about this karaoke.
Maybe next trip.
Yeah, next one.
Next appearance.
So let's go back to your time in the NFL. You're drafted by Calgary, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You go to the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you play any games there. And
I was a whole year on the practice squad in Buffalo.
And you go to the Washington Redskins.
Yes.
Now the Commanders, I believe.
Yeah.
And you played in 20 games and you started 8 of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So tell us about your experience in the NFL, how it was different before coming to the CFL, how those two leagues are different, and which one did you like better?
I wish I'd done it the other way around, because your first time, you come out of a Canadian college, like Simon Fraser University, we played in the NAIA, so I'd only been playing American football at that time, but nothing really prepares you for the National Football League, right? I mean, I had a whole year in Buffalo to acclimate and get used to the game and so on and so forth. And if you finish the year on the practice squad, you're a free agent, right? And so Buffalo wanted to re-sign me, but I actually got a reasonable signing bonus from Washington. So I went to Washington, and I remember the night before my first start, we were actually 0-7 to start the 1998 season. And my first start was going to be the 8th game, and it was against the New York Giants. So you take a kid from, Port Moody, British Columbia, and you 2 years removed from that, now you're starting against the New York Football Giants.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming, because I didn't
New
really, No, it was in Washington.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually we won that game, so that was great,
nice.
right? So that was our first win of the season.
Yeah.
So and we actually turned around. We ended up being 6-10 that year, which isn't great, but when you start 0-7, it was good, but it was just overwhelming, right? When it's just a completely different environment. It'd be one thing, in hockey and the NHL. You can go anywhere in Manitoba and find someone from a school that made I just didn't have anyone to help me with that journey. And when you're in your early 20s as a male, it's a difficult thing. My dad wasn't a football player at all. And so I wasn't surrounded by people that were doing or had done what I was hoping to do.
Yeah.
So like my goals going into NFL camp in 97, my only goal was not to be the first person cut.
Yeah.
Because everyone told me I was going to wash out and I was going to end up.
You're a Canadian playing an American game.
And so
everybody told you that?
Oh my God. Like I even got a call. So the NFL really does their homework before they sign you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember I got a call from my high school football coach. So I only played 1 year of football in high school, and that was as a senior.
Oh, really?
So grade 12. And I got a call from him because the NFL had called him and asked him about me. That's how far back they do their research before they sign. And I'm an undrafted player in the NFL, and they called my high school coach. Okay. So he had me come back to school and meet with him or whatever. I think we went for lunch or something like that. And he told me not to get my hopes up. And it was great that I had been able to sign a deal and I was going to camp.
Yeah.
But he's like, this isn't in your reality. Yeah. And so there was nobody that believed in my opportunity, nobody in my environment, nobody in my world, nobody in my circle that I had an opportunity. So I went there. I was like, okay, I'm just not going to be the first person cut in camp.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't. And then I started to get some confidence. And, I spent a lot of time outside of two-a-days. I was lucky my defensive line coach asked me if I wanted to come out an hour before every practice because he's like, I have to teach you how to play football now, kind of thing, coming from SFU. And I was like, yeah, and I'd be practicing stuff in my dorm room as the most stressful situation of my life, but then you get to stay around. Right. Yeah. Then I was like, oh yeah, we want to keep you around because we see potential. And then all of a sudden you're starting. Right. So all these things were above and beyond any goals I had set for myself. Yeah. So, if you, in hindsight, if you could go back, you would like to seek out, people that could coach you or help you with the things that you would be forced to deal with.
When you got to the CFL, did you think, I'm just going to spend a year or two here and I'll get my shot again in the NFL?
I certainly felt like I would be going back because my last year in the NFL, I broke my foot. So I missed the entire 2000 season. Okay. And then in 2001, I actually went to a mini camp again with the then Redskin organization where Marty Schottenheimer had just taken over. So they brought me back for mini camps, and they hadn't signed me to a deal when Winnipeg traded for me and offered me a deal and whatever I signed. And I remember in week 3 of 2001, I actually got a call from Washington to come to their camp, but it was already week 3, week 4.
And you're under contract.
Knowing what I know now, I mean, theoretically, if you go to Lau Bauer or he was.
It would have been Lau Bauer, yeah.
Or Brendan Tamman, I gave him my signing bonus back. Maybe they would have let me out, but it was just something I was like, no, well.
You might have also, you might have gotten out, but you might have also been signing your death to the CFL too, right? By
I mean, I don't know. I didn't. I was like, oh,
depends on how they.
I played this wrong, right?
Yeah.
I ended up firing that agent, but anyways, I remember after 2001, I had some more workouts. I worked out in Kansas City and stuff like that, but it just never happened again, right? I mean, that's the NFL is so you have a limited opportunity. It's very fickle. And you have to make the most of it when you have that. So it was, but I don't have any regrets. I mean, you wish you had certain knowledges and certain experiences if you could play it over again, but you don't. I mean, I had a fantastic experience in the CFL. The players I played with, the coaches.
When you played in the best city.
Oh, best football city. Yeah, without question.
So I'm from Vancouver, clarified best football city, by the way.
I live here now too, right? So it's
football city.
He's from BC, and he's our second football player on our show. That's actually from BC.
Well, he's the second football player from our show,
from the West Coast.
And then you could
Adam
both
Hinkle
from-
was
yeah.
from Washington
Yeah,
State.
the other ones have been
But-
from other provinces.
But you speak about like, you know, you get your shot down there and everything like that. One of our friends looks at a guy like Chris Strebler, who went down there and literally practice rostered his entire time.
Yeah.
Except for like random games and everything like that. What makes a player want to practice roster like he did? And is it the pension? Is it the?
I mean, that helps. They say, I mean, when I was down there, every year you spend, the National Football League changes your life.
Yeah.
You know, financially, emotionally, physically, everything across the board, right? So it can certainly lend you. I mean, I'm 3. You know why the average NFL career is 3.5 years? It's because 4 games into your 4th year is when you get your full pension, right? So I have a partial pension in the NFL, not a full one, but I have a 401k from down there, so on and so forth. But it's life-changing, right? The money, the opportunities, the experience, the network, so on and so forth. It's pretty crazy. I mean, I was living in my first 5 years that I was playing in Winnipeg. I was still living in Washington, D.C. in the off season. I was still going back there. My fiance was there. She worked for the Washington Redskin organization.
Okay.
And so it's quite a hard, I mean, there's so many opportunities tied in with it, right? So it's
you play a lot of what ifs in your head.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I mean, like I said, to play 15 years, I'm very fortunate to play where I did, have the experiences that I did. I don't regret any of it. I loved, you know, when I was in the CFL and I knew I was going to stay in the Canadian Football League, there was nowhere else I wanted to play other than Winnipeg. It was just, I mean, we haven't won. I was part of that drought, right?
Yeah.
I had 3 opportunities to crack it. We didn't do it, but I never once want to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know,
it was never the defense's fault though.
That's exactly what I told myself. You know,
I told myself
every time I would go
as I was crying in the mirror. That's what I told myself.
It's not our fault. Yeah.
Like, and if you look at it from the point of view, you know, you made your way to Winnipeg. You know, you've got your daughter here, and like this is like your home now. You had your pontoon boat for a little while as well, right? So
the good old days.
All these things that it brought you to, you know, it's not all bad.
It's meant to be.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, and now I wouldn't leave here for anything, right? I just, granted, it took me a while, right? I got here in 2001. I don't think I didn't start living here full time until 2006.
Oh wow!
So I started going back. I kept going. You know, the day after the season would end, I'd fly back to Washington D.C. and that's where I was living. But I had my green card and everything down there. But you know, the more time you spend here and you investigate the province and you meet people and so on and so forth, and you get opportunities here, playing for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. There's no better people anywhere I've played football than in Manitoba, right?
So you met your partner who at the time worked for the Redskin organization.
Different.
You said, that's okay.
Yeah.
How did
American. I upgraded from American to Canadian.
Oh,
so
I see. You upgraded.
Manitoba.
Right.
More
bred. Yes, born and bred.
Manitoba.
There you go. There you go.
Before you moved here or started playing here, what did you know about Winnipeg?
You know, I had a buddy that was from Winnipeg out in BC that I went to like high school and stuff with, and I don't know, we didn't talk about it a lot. I did kind of look into
Vancouver.
Yeah. All I knew about as I started playing at Simon Fraser University, you start to understand the opportunity potentially to be in the CFL or whatever. And all I remember is Chris Walby being the figurehead representative. It was all lightning bolt, right? That was the emblem for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers back in the day. And I was like, who is this giant Viking dude? You know, Chris he looked
and
appeared
Miles
to be
Gurrell.
just a massive guy, larger than life, iconic figure. And who knew I would end up, you know, getting to meet him and so on and so forth and playing after him. He was certainly my first introduction. Yeah, I think.
Have you guys ever crossed paths on the radio? Like, have you ever been on the same station together?
Oh, I'm sure we have. Yeah. I mean, I've seen.
But no shows. You've never done shows together on the radio or anything?
I mean, when he was on CBC, I was still playing, right?
Yeah.
So I did interviews with him and
TSN
such.
radio for a while there.
He's done everything, right? He's a fantastic media pro. Not as good as a player. I mean, he was really good.
Yeah,
I think in media, but he was one of the best of all time, right?
Yeah,
for a player. So yeah, I've had interactions with him throughout my entire career and after the fact.
Yeah, that's awesome. You want me to go next?
I had a question,
feel
and
like
then
you
I
always have
completely blanked.
You were asking about the CFL growing up in BC and how
Oh
much
yeah,
you
so
knew
I
about the
got
CFL.
that was, thank you very much.
There you go.
So when you were growing up, your high school days, did you follow the CFL? Who was your team? Or when did you start following the CFL?
You know, I went to so the BC Lions were playing at Empire Stadium back in the day, and like I remember my dad. I think we went to 1 or 2 BC Lion games.
Okay.
And Swervin Mervin Fernandez.
Yeah. Roy
That is
DeWalter
all
Fernandez.
I remember
Okay.
from my formative days. I'm going to CFL games or whatever, but I mean BC's it's pretty strong hockey culture out there. So
Yeah.
posters in my room, Jordan, Mark Messier, right? That was the extent of it. And it wasn't really on my radar till I got to SFU. And the reason I even played, as I told you guys, I didn't start playing football till I was a senior in high school. So I accepted a scholarship at SFU just as a way to pay for my education, right? So it's only when, my junior year, I started recognizing I may have an opportunity. And that's when, I always liked football, but you like whatever you're good at. And I didn't play football, right? I played hockey and
swimming and rugby.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's something that you wasn't even on your radar.
Yeah. Well, it's your calling, right?
Yeah,
it's what so many people end up doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just what you, and that's the fun thing about football is that when you retire, then you're done what you were best at and what you were meant to do.
Yeah.
You have the rest of your life to do something else that you're nowhere near as good at, right?
Do you find that's an issue with a lot of guys? Is their identity is what they did for 10, 12 years and they struggle afterwards with what they do? Yeah, because you were revered, right? People spent your entire career, people are like, wow, you're one of the best at what you do. No matter whether you're a Hall of Famer or whether you're a guy that just made the squad or not, people look up to you and you're on a platform where you're one of the better people in that industry, or you're getting paid to play a game.
Would you consider it like a drug? Playing in front of that many people?
Yeah. The first time,
not saying that you've done drugs. I'm just saying like,
well, you did say like a drug. You did say it is a drug.
I live vicariously through Tom Canada. So I feel like,
you say Tom Canada first?
Yeah. Tom, yeah.
The first time you do something positive on a football field and you hear that, that's my experience was down south, and you have a hard time even concentrating. You talk about the energy of the crowd,
the adrenaline.
That's actually something very palpable that you can feel as a player. And the first time that happens to you, you're so giddy, you can lose a lot of focus, and you have to bring yourself down. And then you get into your career though, and then you don't hear anything. Whether you're at the Grey Cup or it's a preseason game, crowd noise is crowd noise, right? Granted, you make a big play, and if the spotlight's on you, you understand that your involvement in that play. But it's something you certainly get used to. But the first time, it's a super intoxicating.
And being a defender, you hear more crowd noise than most, right? Because you want the noise when you're playing. Yeah.
You're used to, and that's, that fuels you. It's part of the excitement, right? Is when you can't hear yourself think. But defensive football, when it's at its best, it's all instinctual anyways, right? You're not supposed to you play bad defense when you're thinking about what you got to do next, or you're trying to figure out what move I got to throw here, or what are they going to do? It's just, you get knocked a little bit in a game, or you're sick sometimes. Sometimes that's when you have your best games, because you're not overthinking things, right?
Yeah.
And you're just reacting, and it purely becomes instinctual.
Okay.
And I think that's when you play your best games.
So you were saying that you went to Empire Field with your dad when you were younger.
Empire Stadium,
Empire Stadium. Did it kind of come full circle in 2010 when you got to play at the makeshift?
It was
Empire
back in the
Stadium?
same. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's funny. I didn't play in that game. I had broken toes or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And so I missed one game or something like that. But I remember walking around going, what was full circle for me was how I started as a senior in high school, and the provincial high school football championships are played at BC Place.
Okay.
And then my very last game as a pro in 2011. So this is in 1992. I played in BC Place. Then my last game ever as a professional is 2011 at BC Place against the BC Lions for Winnipeg. Now I won in 1992, and I was hoping it would cross over.
2000. Which one are you talking about?
2011. That was when.
Which one are you talking about? That's
Big Hill and Harris both won a Grey Cup.
Yeah,
for a different team.
They're both rookies, just young punks over there, huh?
They were just running through people and and we had Swaggerville. Like that was our Swaggerville year. Doug was part of Swaggerville.
I was the elder.
He was an elder statesman of Swaggerville.
Yeah.
I don't think he was one of the ones selling T-shirts in the parking lot, but there was a lot of guys that were having fun with Swaggerville back in the day. Do you remember that?
I do. Actually, I want to go back to.
Did you buy a T-shirt?
Oh no, I
From
don't.
Odell Willis?
I don't buy merch.
Or Suber.
Or Suber, yeah.
I'm very frugal. I don't buy
They
merchandise.
were probably cheaper though. They were
maybe.
full price.
I want to go back to 2001.
Mm-hmm.
That's for me. That's the Grey Cup that everyone expected and didn't get.
Yeah. I expect the same thing in 2007 if Kevin Glenn didn't break his arm in the Eastern final the week before.
Yeah.
But yeah.
2001, Marcus Crandall. I think they had an 8-10.
8-10, yeah. And they only made the playoffs because
That's right.
we pulled our starters because we were done because we were 14-4 that year, right?
So what happened in that game?
We've heard rumors.
Yeah, I mean, we had some. What did we have? We missed some field goals. We had a blocked punt that went back for a touchdown. We launched Mark Borichter. We launched his Kansas City Chief career. He actually went to the NFL. After that, he got some home runs on us that game. And I always, anytime
our running game was lacking that
everything
game.
Was lacking. That or actually defensively, we wouldn't play that bad.
Defensively, we were okay.
We lost by less than 6 points, I believe it was. But yeah, I remember that. We were as surprised as anybody else, right? So we're in one of those vibes or one of those routines where we were winning so automatically.
Yeah.
And even though we were in tight games, we always just figured out a way.
Yeah.
Right. And so that becomes part of your identity for that team. Yeah. Oh, we'll figure this out. But too many things went awry that game and we weren't able to overcome it. So
I do remember where I watched that game. Do you remember where you watched that game?
I watched it at an apartment on Edmonton in Winnipeg, like the street Edmonton.
Yeah.
And I actually broke the handle of the door. And the neighbor, the neighbor came outside from the other room and asked my girlfriend, now wife, if she was okay, because he just thought I was, you had a domestic breaking. There was a domestic dispute, but I was just so angry. What's that?
Happens a lot during Super Bowl.
I was just so angry that it might have flipped up.
Funny thing about that is that so many of us on that team, that was our first year in the CFL.
Yeah.
So Charlie Roberts, myself, Danny Fortney, there was a bunch of us. We're like, we'll just do this again next year. Why is everyone so upset?
Yeah.
And then we learned about the drought, and then and guess what? I didn't get my second opportunity until 2007, right? So it's your first year in the league. That happens. Maybe you don't have the right framing or the right sense of the historic significance of it all. But that's something you never forget. That missed opportunity.
This question, and I'm not saying it happened in this game, but when the media says that team took another team for granted, is that true, or is that just something? Does it happen, or is that just something the media says?
I don't think I've ever gone to a football game going, "Oh, I don't have to play hard," or I'm just gonna bring 60% of my game. Something the media says. I mean, when you're on a team that's, we had tied most consecutive games won in a row. Ever, all time for a CFL. It was like we won 12 straight. So we're like, we thought we were really good and we thought we were going to win, but we thought that in all the games that we'd won that I don't think our approach or mentality was any different in that game. Yeah. And people will say that'll be their rationale for excusing it. But we just got, they made some plays and we didn't. They had some explosive plays. They had some turnover plays that led to touchdowns. We missed some field goals. There's a bunch of things that added up that led to us losing that game. But I mean, we thought we were going to beat everybody that year because we did beat everybody that year.
As a media person now, though, have you ever used that statement?
That we took
that the players
them lightly.
Have you ever?
Yeah,
have you ever used that statement now?
I don't know. There are games you get more up for as a player.
Yeah,
it was always hard to play in Toronto because you felt like you were playing in a mall, right? And you could hear like let's go get a Cinnabon or something like that. But it was like playing a game, but it was at practice, right?
Yeah,
you're playing a game, but it felt like a practice environment because we've had practices in Winnipeg that were about the same decibels as when you'd play in the Sky Dome against Toronto, right? So it was off-putting and didn't always feel like like you were playing a football game out there. So there are definitely different games where you're not as excited playing. And then there's like the Labor Day Classic where there's so much animosity that it just fuels you or whatever. And
well, we can go in there 8-1 in 2011 and they're 1-8 and still lose.
Yeah.
I laughed 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years, or maybe it was last year. But they won that game, or it was 2 years ago, and they just barely won, and they acted like. And you went off.
This was last year, and we talked about it on our second episode of the podcast. That's when I first reached out to Doug. The second episode of the podcast, we were talking about a comment that you had made after the show. Do you remember that?
I was laughing off, and you were saying they barely won, and they acted like they won the Grey Cup. And I was like, did he just say that?
And then the next week, he said, "Do you remember what he said?"
No.
Okay, so you said last year. It's like we heard that the Riders were throwing up all over the field.
Yes.
They were throwing up before the game, and that's why they couldn't win. And this year, it looked like they were throwing up during the game.
Throwing up all over the field. I was like, did Doug just say that too?
You have fun. That's part of the fun of the Canadian Football League is just, how passionate people.
Yeah.
Like, you literally say stuff on Twitter just to see. People take it so serious. It's unbelievable how I've had death threats from people over football. I mean, you don't take it seriously or anything like that, but people want to kill you based on you insulted their football team. And to me, it's just
especially Saskatchewan.
I'm like, this is fandom. I'm like, what are you? These are not your children out here, but they're like how I protect my 5-year-old daughter. Is how some people feel about their football team. And so you just want to poke.
I had years and years of watching the Labor Day game, and I just hearing comments like the Saskatchewan fans, whatever. But I'd never been there, and I think 2002 I went to my first Labor Day game, and
we won that one.
Yeah,
I think was that Rocky Butler.
That was Kevin Glenn to Milt Stiegel. That big play, and we won. Taylor Field still. And I went to 11, 12 straight Labor Day games. But the first time I ever went to the game, I said, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah,
walking down the streets of Regina, I understand now.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing is? Derek Taylor, who's now your commentator during the game, was actually on the other side for that game that we won the first time, that the Bombers won the first time in Labor Day for it had been a long drought.
Okay.
And the Bombers won, and Derek Taylor was actually their play-by-play guy for 1 year. He took over for Rod Peterson.
Okay.
And you were on the radio with Bob Irving at the time.
Okay.
And then Bob Irving retires and Derek Taylor comes over. Mm-hmm. But I remember listening to the radio after the game and how much Derek Taylor at the time, as a Rider play-by-play guy, was like, well, the Bombers got lucky here. The Bombers got lucky with this. These kinds of things wouldn't have happened if they didn't make this mistake. Like, he was more making excuses for the Riders. Mm-hmm. And then the next year he jumps ship and he's with the Bombers after winning the Grey Cup. So he's on a Grey Cup winning team. Do you think announcers are biased in the CFL that are calling their own games?
I think to a degree you have to as a play-by-play guy. I mean, Bob Irving and Derek Taylor, I mean, they run a coach's show every week when they're one-on-one with Mike O'Shea or whoever the head coach is. So I think you're involved in everything. They're emceeing for team events, so on and so forth. And to a degree, I think that impacts, how you have to present. But I mean, to work with Bob was incredible, one of the best ever. And then to have the opportunity to work with Derek as well. I mean, I couldn't be luckier in terms of a color guy on radio, having the opportunity to work with those two guys because they're such professionals. They're so good at what they do, right? You just ride their wave and come along for the ride. But it's definitely a very, very difficult situation when, especially in losing situation. Like it gets a lot harder. Like if they're 0-3 right now, they're 0-4. All of a sudden, our discussions get a lot more pointed after the game, and
coaches' shows get a little bit more difficult.
There's more irritation, and there's more pushback, and there's, it definitely it's very easy to have a great locker room.
Yeah,
when you win double digits every year and you're going, winning the Western Division every year, your locker room doesn't get tested until you're 0-3 to, potentially 0-4, whatever the season. That's when you find out what kind of nucleus of guys you have and what your locker room culture is whether you can withstand that adversity.
Which is a life lesson, right? It's not just sports, right? When things are down, when the chips are down, how do you respond, right? For sure.
And you see people's true color and metal. Like I said, everyone's, it's even guys with interactions with the media, right? You have no problem having people talk to the media or come on a show or answer questions when they played well and they scored all these points and they won. And then nobody wants to talk to the media after you lose. And I'm like, well, that's the nature of the game.
Going back,
right?
Big respect to Brady Oliveira last week for talking to you guys after the game. Like, he didn't play much, right? Like, he didn't play much. They lost, and yet he still came on the show and gave his perspective. And I thought he was real with it too, which was very good.
That's because he's a Manitoba kid, right?
And he's a Manitoba kid.
Makes sense.
And going back to your comments about Bob Irving, I can't imagine somebody being a better CFL commentator than him. I haven't listened to them all, but he was like, that's my whole lifetime. But we just had actually Kirk Heel back on our show, one of our first, I think episode 22.
Yes.
Okay. So we had him on the show. Greg surprised me with him. He's one of my all-time favorites, obviously being Jet fans.
Birthday present.
Yeah, it's a birthday present. Yeah. And he came on the show and I was dumbfounded, but same thing, Bob Irving, Kirk Keelback, some of the greatest, right? So
if you ever went to a national telecast, like let's say you went to TSN and started doing national telecasts, do you think it would be hard to not wear your Blue Bomber heart on your sleeve when you're calling those games?
I think that influences anybody. All the guys that have been up there. I did do one season of TSN part-time after I retired in 2012. And it becomes, especially if you play for one team, your entire tenure, it's part of your fabric. It's part of your DNA, who you are, right? That's just who and all the time I've had doing radio and such, just, it makes me, it's funny because last week when they lost and they dropped to 0-3, I was telling people that was the angriest I've been in like a long time. I have nothing to do with the game anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm up there and I'm like 3rd and 6 and you pay Zach Collaros $600,000 a year, and you don't give him. That's why you pay him that much money, because it's 3rd and 6. There's 2 minutes left. You're down by a couple points. You're going to kill the clock and kick the field goal and win and beat BC, and everything's different now. And so I couldn't rationalize, like, no matter what the head coach told me or whatever. I'm like, your defense got torched this game.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
You didn't stop anything.
It's just like they moved the ball to the 1 yard line. And we all knew that was going to happen. Right. Yeah. So it's interesting because you do this for an amount of time and it just becomes a part of you, cheering or hoping that this team that you know everything about, that you study and you watch and you talk about and you share the picture with people, you just want them to do well. And when that doesn't happen, it actually, that's when you find out, oh yeah, I'm a little bit invested in this now. Because it's starting to piss me off when they're not doing well and things aren't going the way you want it.
The week before, they were first and goal on the 6 yard line, and they gave the ball to Zach Collaros for all 3 plays.
Yeah.
In your mind, aren't you saying like run the ball up the gut? Like,
well, and I look at that throw that where it was just a fantastic play. Like he had Dalton Schoen in the end zone to win that game.
Yeah.
I mean, any other DB, I don't even think that was that guy's man, right? He made a break on that ball, timing perfect, acceleration, explosiveness. Like that was one of the most spectacular defensive plays you're going to see, period.
So in the
end zone.
Right.
I thought that was right. I mean, in any other situation, any other, even that same player, I think 9 times out of 10, Zach hits Dalton Schoen for the touchdown. They win that game.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that at all. What I was mad about was against BC, 3rd and 6, 2 minutes left. You know how the defense is playing.
You're giving them the ball.
Zach, if anybody has the ability to live up to the moment and to change, no matter how he's been playing, you can throw Zach Collaros in and he doesn't have lingering effects of what previously happened to him. He's able to have a clean slate and go out there and just go with it, right? And the more intense and imminent the situation, I think the better he is. So I'm like, oh my God, just 3rd and 6. This is why you pay Zach the big bucks. Don't put your defense on the field again. So that's
do you see that this is a team that just has to kind of get around the corner, gel a little bit. They're going to turn it around. I know you kind of said 0-3, 0-4. I'm not sure if you were saying it's going to be 0-4, or do you think that this is a team in trouble? Should we be worried?
I think this is novel. This is uncharted territories for this regime, right?
Yeah.
4 Grey Cups in a row. You won 2 of them. This is unprecedented. A lot of people think they should have at least won 3 of the last 4 in a row. Nucleus of the team is still there. So all bets are off right now. We have no idea what we're going. We show up every day and we're like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen, because we don't recognize this team that's playing here. I mean, it gets harder every year with the salary cap. What's that?
Age also gets up to you. You know that, right?
And when you're successful for that long, you get pillaged, right?
Mhm.
People just they cherry pick players off your team, Jamarcus Hardrick and Bailey, and you just lose guys, and you can't pay everyone. So now you got to pick who's getting, and so you're going to be not as talented in certain positions and as you are in others, and you lose some of that chemistry, and it's just. It's an eye opener right now. Nobody, predicted this team that had 2 of the top TSN top 50 players in the CFL. No one predicted they'd be 0-3 right now. And I don't think it gets any easier going to Calgary this weekend either on Saturday.
2 games were against the East.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Montreal is the defending champion that had that chip on their
but,
well, that's just it. Yeah. Cody Fajardo is literally, nobody believes in us. And here's the evidence right here. Your guy right here is the reason why Cody's playing so well right now.
I am.
The chip, you're part of the chip on his shoulder.
I'm okay. I'll keep knocking that chip right off.
Yeah.
Because he had so many games of not success.
He has 0 success in Winnipeg. And the fact that he came in here on our opening day really makes me upset, right? Because as a Bomber fan, he never had success here. We can make fun of him hitting that goalpost every single day. And now he's won a Grey Cup. He beat us in our home opener. What are they going to do to us next? That's frustrating as a Bomber fan, right? So I'm hoping that they're as frustrated as Bombers. I don't know. Do you guys feel the fans' frustration?
I think, the fans, the last game, even though they lost, it was super entertaining still, right? And the Bombers are setting records now for attendance. They're number 1, over 30,000 on a regular basis at home. It used to be that was the deal in Saskatchewan. It's not. It's Winnipeg now, right? This is the flagship now, right? Yeah. But the flagship is taking on water right now. So it's uncharted territory for this team, but I think, I don't know, this could be the rope of the rope-a-dope, right? This is the, nobody's panicked. That's the part that makes you most uneasy. Is, you talk to Mike O'Shea after the game, you're like, he's not really fazed by this, and he's not as upset as you are about this. Does he know something we don't know, right? So you can't count out this regime and this coaching staff and this crew of players because if you have any time in the last 4 or 5 years, you look like an idiot, right? Because they've pulled it out. Granted, they haven't started like this, but they have lost 3, 4 games in a season, no problem. Just not in this sequence. So they've earned the respect that you have to let this play out and see how it's going to be.
I think O'Shea, his calling card has been from game to game, whether it's good or bad, we start fresh the next week. So I'm not surprised in that. If some of the new players that are in town now, is there someone to look out for that we haven't heard from that's going to kind of pop up this year?
Maybe a receiver, maybe somebody who's going to touchdown.
I sure hope so. It's funny. They talk about before the season started, Zach Claris, you have one of the best receiving cores in the CFL. He's like, what is that burden for you? He's like, well, I got to get everybody involved. And like, well, guess what? Week 4, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
You have nobody.
You just got to get the ball to Dembski or hand it off to Brady. And really everybody else is gone. So yeah, Wolotarski's your new number 2. Nick Dembski's number 1 now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so now your options are more limited.
3.
If I'm the Calgary Stampeders, I am just going to, on first down, I'm like, Brady's not going to run the ball against us because we're going to run blitz every single gap. We're going to have a player in it, and we're going to force them to beat us by throwing to receivers that I'm going to have to learn their names on Friday in a hotel room in downtown Calgary because I don't know who any of these guys are. And it was one thing when they had, guys that were new to the team, and then those guys are hurt. So now it's the new guys as backups that were cut that are starting now.
Yeah, like you're a backup to the backup right now, which a couple of years ago we had like O'Leary Orange and Agadosi who came out of nowhere. Yeah. And we kind of like just let them go because in hindsight, we probably should have kept them.
Those would be great to have those guys right now.
Right? Yeah. Like for their height and their skill levels. But we're going to be starting out with somebody brand new this week. What is your prediction for how many touchdowns Caleros will actually get if they're going to do as you say, stack the gaps and protect against the run?
He's going to have to beat. I mean, he's a guy who hasn't thrown a touchdown pass yet, right? And your receiving corps just got worse exponentially. So I think he's going to get one. But yeah, I mean, Dembski's going to have an all-world game, and Wolatarski's going to step up. I think those guys are totally capable of it. I just don't know who else there is. I mean, you can score potentially by guys being ignored on the field, and that's a decoy, and you play off of them, and you cheat your zone, and you roll your coverage away from other guys. Yeah. Maybe you get an opportunity to make an explosive play with one of these. I mean, we saw that with another receiver that already got hurt, right? So
Wheathead.
Yeah.
Wheathead.
See, I haven't even learned
Whitehead.
Wheathead, I think, or Wheathead or something. It's Wheat something.
No, okay.
No, Lucky doesn't play for us anymore.
I know.
Lucky's out there.
Yeah.
Is he available?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They're very much, this program is in-house first as opposed to bringing in talent from the outside. So we'll see how it goes.
When you said all of a sudden I had a memory. I was talking to Bob Irving. He was staying at our hotel. It was at the Hilton downtown Calgary. It was a number of years ago.
Okay.
And we played a game against Calgary. We lost by a couple of points. But Barry was our coach, and Buono was the head coach for Calgary.
Okay.
And I was laughing with, I was talking to Irving about the referee trying to pronounce ineligible. It was who's a French referee?
Prue.
And he could not pronounce. He pronounced it 8 different ways in the game. And Barry and Buono each of them tried so hard to help him pronounce ineligible, but every time he pronounced it wrong. And Irving was just laughing his ass off. Anyway, I was just brought to mind in a hotel in Calgary.
Good side note.
Yeah. You might have been around.
Yeah, I would have been on that team. You got to take a call? We're taking callers?
We have Mike Kelly on the line 4. Mike, you're here with Doug Brown.
Well, can we just start over?
Let's go from the
take
beginning.
Take two.
We'll go all the way from the beginning.
We don't have enough beer.
Who is Doug Brown?
Oh, I have lots of beer. Trust me. I don't know how much of it's any good, but oh my goodness. We're gonna skip over. We're gonna go to this or that. Do you want to do a game? We call it this or that.
I won the first game, so
you won the first game, and
we can't forget about that. Seeing you have to do.
Is your daughter calling you right now?
No, just checking my.
Daddy,
everything's okay.
You asked for the call so you could get out of the Greg and Tim show. I'm calling as you requested.
Why are you in someone's basement right now? Are these? You told me stranger danger. I don't understand.
Okay, so we're gonna do this or that.
So I always start with the same 2 questions before we. So this or that. I'll explain the game first, and then we'll go on to the 2 questions I always ask before this or that. This or that is exactly how it sounds. I give you 2 options. You choose one of the options or the other one. This or that.
Okay.
Let's do this or that first before you ask your question.
You can choose to expand on your answer or say nothing at all. You cannot say tie. They can't be equal. You have to choose one or the other. And when you choose one, it's like the other one does not exist. So if I say, for example, spaghetti or pizza, if you choose spaghetti, pizza is not available to eat.
It doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist to you.
Okay.
Right. Just like an alternate universe where that particular...
Like the Mandela effect.
You have to completely shun. So as much as you're affirming one choice, you're eradicating the other.
Right.
You're really just shunning.
Yeah. Are you ready, Doug Brown?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Are you ready? Are you ready, Tim?
All right. Are you ready? Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Swaggerville or Dark Side?
Anything but Swaggerville, dark side.
Anything but Swaggerville?
You were.
I had nothing. I was just there de facto, right? I was a victim of Swaggerville.
You were a victim.
That's not my. That's not my style whatsoever. I was just part of that grouping, right?
You're not a swagger guy.
I'm not a swagger guy. No.
Are you a low-key guy?
I never. Yeah, in football. I was never. No one ever said, "Oh, Doug Brown, that guy with the swag." No, those words have never been spoken.
He always walked in the locker room with giant chains, a big '97
Blingville. Had it been Blingville, yes,
he had bling. Fan interactions or player interviews?
Fan interactions or fan interactions for sure.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, real. because everything that happens in an interview, just like this, it's all fluff, right? None of it. I'm lying, you're lying, none of it's real.
So none of what you said is real. Okay, that makes sense.
This is a fictional.
I pride myself in being honest. Okay. I'm not fake. Anyways, pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
All right. Commentary on a game or playing the game? We're talking football here.
Playing the game. Oh my
of
God.
course, yeah.
Is that really a question? You guys put that question up there?
Talking
about a game or playing a game, really?
It's not. Are you talking practice? Anyway, Family Guy or The Simpsons?
Family Guy.
For your daughter to watch. Sorry. You didn't finish the question.
From my daughter. South Park then. For my
South Park. Good answer. Just strictly coffee. Tim Hortons, Starbucks, or McDonald's?
Starbucks.
Wrong answer. Video games or Netflix?
Video games or Netflix.
Okay. Sacking a quarterback or getting a touchdown?
Sacking quarterback.
Although sacking a quarterback and getting the touchdown after a fumble, probably the best. Have you ever done that? Sacking a quarterback, ball comes loose, and you get a touchdown?
No.
Okay.
No, I have scored one touchdown, but yeah.
In the CFL?
I preferred my very first game, actually, in the CFL.
And that one kind of bounced out of his hand, too. Touchdown, Winnipeg. Doug Brown.
Thanks for
and didn't you get a fumble recovery or a sack in your first NFL game, too?
I have an interception. And I do have an interception. I do have fumble recovery in the NFL. Yeah.
There you go. Climb a mountain or sit on a beach?
Beach.
Okay.
Beach.
Yeah. Beach.
Yeah. You said that like a question. Beach.
He wants to know what
Depends on the beach. Depends on the beach. There's a lot of beaches, right? Beach has great variation.
Listen. Beach. 29 degrees. Beach in Maui. Or climb
what
a
mountain? What mountain can compare with that?
Yeah, exactly, Tim.
Krakatoa.
I'd actually rather climb any mountain. But.
Okay.
Chocolate or chips?
Chocolate, dark chocolate.
Yeah,
it's good
answer.
It's good for you, buddy.
Well,
dark chocolate.
It's better for you than milk chocolate. I'm not sure it's good for you.
Cocoa.
Yeah, dark chocolate's good for you. It's got antioxidants.
It like in terms of comparing to what? No, sorry. Like compared to vegetable, compared to broccoli? I don't know. Strictly watching football, CFL or NFL?
Strictly watching?
Yeah,
CFL.
Not playing.
CFL,
yeah.
Why?
It's just more entertaining.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone. That's a terrible one too.
Actually, Android has.
That is a terrible one. Android's not winning,
yes,
even though Tim's going to tell you it is.
It is winning.
Tim's going to say Android.
First guy to be deleted from your chat group, the Android guy.
Sporting live. This is live. Sporting events or concerts?
Sporting event.
Okay. Derek Taylor or Bob Irving?
Yeah. You can only have one,
man.
You can only have one.
This is just for.
And I don't think Derek Taylor follows us on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter yet, but maybe we'll get him.
Like, share, subscribe.
Both.
No, you can't do that.
You remember
that
was
part of the rules.
You guys are so mean.
I made Adam Bighill pick between Brad Foddy and Darren Cameron.
And what did he say?
He picked Brad Foddy.
Over Darren Cameron?
Because he said Darren Cameron's not really real football ops.
Man, Bob gave me my first opportunity, and
you can't pick the guy you have to do the show with regularly. I see.
I just haven't been with Derek as long. I love working with Derek, but it's got to be Bob. Bob is just Bob.
Yeah, he is the GOAT of Winnipeg play-by-play.
It's like, who would you rather? One of them's Michael Jordan. You're just like, I don't know, but yeah.
And that was the last one, by the way. You did well.
So
82%.
Give me 2 seconds.
82%.
So the two questions I always ask with the this or that is number one, your top 3 places to take your partner on a date. It can be a restaurant. It can be a place to go. What are the top 3?
Well, we really like to eat, largely by my influence on that, I would say. So Pacero, I'd say probably number 1, the Keg, and then what would our number 3 is variable. Maybe probably Pizzeria Gusto. Those would be our top 3. Yeah,
all in the west end of the city, I think.
So it's a very long drive for me. I don't know if I can make it.
There's no kegs or in the
vicinity.
Okay.
The closest keg would be Main Street.
Well, which one?
The one on Main Street downtown.
That's not Main Street, I don't think. But
It is on Main Street.
no, it's on like Gary or something.
Yeah, it's on.
Oh, Fort.
Yeah.
Fort.
Fort or
Oh,
Gary.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
No,
just
you're
off of-
downtown.
Yeah, it's so far away. It's a
vibrant.
long drive. And
It's over the bridge.
person, we have to go through the North End to get it. So, a person alive or dead that you would like to have a 20-minute conversation with that you'd love to have.
Alive or dead that
Yeah.
I'd love to have a 20-minute conversation with. No, it would be in my Opa or my good friend Bernie that I lost to cancer when he was like 40 years old. So one of those two for sure. Just to change the tone of our interview here. But yeah.
It always happens. Like 3/4
You-
through,
you
it
created
always
the-
like there's something that changes the tone. We're like, we're almost done. Now we're gonna have to dig into this.
Had to get real on us in a hurry.
Tim's made 3 of our guests cry.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised now. Now I see his style.
Yeah.
He wants full spectrum.
Yeah.
Full spectrum of emotions, please.
He wants everything.
That's what we pride our whole podcast on. We do
Okay.
serious stuff, we do sports stuff, and then we do kind of dig into the emotional things.
Yeah. Resurrections.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. No, we talked about guys and feelings and love and
We have talked
ways-
about guys and feelings of love.
love
You're right.
languages and all that
Do you know the
stuff.
love languages?
Yeah. My partner tells me about that. I'm not.
Do you know what your love language is?
Does she tell you what you should?
Mine
be or
is
should
affirmation.
Affirmation's one of them. You're right.
Like spoken,
be? And by the way, you're doing
Yeah.
a very good job here.
but
He doesn't care.
hers is service. Acts of service. Acts of service is hers. Is that one as well?
That is one of them.
Okay.
He
Right.
just gave you words of affirmation.
And we
zero cares.
and we also
She's not my partner.
we also
I
gave
can't do this.
we
for
also
one
did
more
acts of
person.
service. We got a beer.
Acts of service.
Thank you. And I did active driving. It's all as long as there was balance, right?
Oh.
To make the trek here.
Yeah.
Now I feel like
There you go.
we're all equal
Yeah.
partners now,
Well,
right?
exactly.
So
That
now
makes sense.
I'm happy.
So acts of
So-
service is your partners, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she does stuff that I just take for granted, but are actually
So-
show a level of.
But if her love
Okay.
language is acts of service, that means you
Yeah.
have to do something for her.
But I
so-
say stuff, right? That's
That's
mine.
words of affirmation.
Yeah, that's me.
If her love language is acts of service, you have to clean out the dishwasher.
Oh, I
You
do
have to
that
pick up your
yeah.
daughter at school. You like if that's her love language,
Yeah.
right? So the love
So I
language.
can't just do my love language for. Oh,
Which is funny you say that because most people do. They're
yeah
but
that's what we specialize in. Right?
yeah.
Wow.
is not listening.
This-
What? Words of affirmation.
Oh my
You did
goodness.
tell him he was doing a good job, and he did ignore every word you said.
I was focusing in on my.
I do that exact same thing. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
He tells me about that all the time, and I don't actually listen to what he's saying.
I don't have enough area to process and interact and engage with his statement with the response and
Yeah.
also say something
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
one thing at a time, right?
Yeah.
So,
So-
football player.
So let's change topics a little bit. So you grow up in BC. You go to Simon Fraser. You are in the NFL, the CFL. You're a young man. You're in your 20s, then in your early 30s. You're a good-looking guy. You're well-spoken. Did you have a lot of fun? Were you a player? Tell us.
Being a young man in a professional football league, what was that
I would
like?
think that the ladies would love you.
No, it's yeah. It was a long time ago. It's a very, very long time ago. But yeah, the Winnipeg
Well,
Jets
13 years.
The Winnipeg Jets never used to be here. Do you know that?
That's right.
It was
You were the big
man,
dog.
Yeah, we used to do okay here. So I don't know. You're making me very uncomfortable right now. I'm
He's
revisiting these emotions and experiences in my head right now. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know where to go. I'm like,
We don't
oh,
have any Kleenex for
We always tell our guests if there's any question that you don't like,
I feel
take
very
it out.
uncomfortable right now.
Are you?
And
Well,
yeah.
this isn't that kind of show, so
What was my safe word? Again, did we have a safe word that we discussed before?
mayonnaise.
Oh.
And I didn't hear it, so
Winnipeg is a great place, just to play sports because of how passionate people are about the franchises here, right? Especially one as long and storied as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's just the interactions and engagements you have with the fan base I'm going strictly high level response now. It's unbelievable. So you just have random people walk up to you in a bar and you can talk about, some stunts in games you were doing on the defensive line the entire evening. So you just don't get that anywhere else. So
was this bar by any chance Earl's?
Earl's. Which one? I think
it's
the one right by the stadium that we used to go to after every.
I think that's where the Jets hang out too. I think they all go to Earl's. It's weird that to think of that as
it's athlete culture.
Is it?
Yeah, it's part of the franchise designation. I think
it's an open concept bar area that they can just wander around in and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to Earl's in your younger years, Tim?
Or
was yours more Perkins?
Perkins.
Perkins?
Yeah.
After a Bomber game, did you ever go to Perkins? Because there was one right there on St. James.
There was. You're right.
Or Tony Roma's?
I did not go to Perkins.
No, where'd you go?
I was not a wild child. I probably went home, went to bed.
Well, same thing.
That's what we do now. Eventually, we all do that. So,
just some of us do it earlier in our lives.
Yeah, at different times.
Yeah.
Are you a morning guy or a night owl?
I don't know.
No.
Am I? Yeah, I'm adaptable. I think whatever the situation calls for. I don't feel a particular way better in the morning or at night, kind of thing. It's just. I don't subscribe to that. Okay. So, sorry, it's my third large. These aren't just 355.
No, these are the bigger ones.
These are the 473. Okay, so I've got like 14.
The interview was great until Tim asked that question. Then it went off the rails.
The audacity, morning or night guy? Like what?
How about you go to the Operation Walk question?
Let's clean this up, okay?
Operation Walk. Well, we're going to touch on Operation Walk because I actually didn't know anything about this before.
So I blew you off because of it?
What's that?
Because
when you told me that you're going to Operation Walk, I was like,
"Is this
that doesn't
real?"
sound like
so you investigated because you thought I was lying. Okay.
I'm like,
where's the trust?
Is he just going on a hike or what is he? Him and Oosterhuis and Canada are going down to Nicaragua to hike a mountain when he would rather sit on a beach.
Yeah,
that's the charity he's making them do.
That's because that's what he said when he asked, "You want to be on the program, the Greg and Tim show?" He said, "I was in Nicaragua doing a walk for charity," and you thought that sounds like a lie, and you checked into it, right?
And I found out that they do have a website that was published by Doug Brown. No, Operation Walk is a real website.
Yeah,
it's a real charity. What is this charity all about?
So, as you guys know, from all the political mess that's been going on, healthcare workers in Manitoba are incredible, right?
Yep.
Some of the most impressive people, be it surgeons, nurses, anesthesiologists, very selfless, giving, charitable people. And what we are doing, I'm on the instrument and implant side of these operations. So every year, a group of us go down to Nicaragua. And in Canada, if you need a knee replacement, so you have osteoarthritis in your knee or your hip or shoulder or anything like that, you can have the replacement done for free.
Okay.
But in places, developing countries like Nicaragua, these facilities aren't available to them. People can't afford this. So we go down there once a year. The company I work for donate the instruments and implants, and then the specialties are donated the time from the surgeons, the nurses, anesthesiologists. They all fly down as well, donate their expertise. And we do usually somewhere between 60 and 70 joint replacements for people that otherwise wouldn't have access to those kind of services. And it's the most rewarding charitable endeavor you can do. These are people that some people haven't walked for years, and they go home the next day, right, on Tylenol, right? So it's most appreciative. It's incredible. It's a life affirming, life changing kind of experience. So I do it whenever we can.
So how long have you been involved with that?
Hopefully this year be I've been involved working with Operation Walk in some capacity or another for probably 10 years or so. But this would be my upcoming, probably my third trip down to Nicaragua would be in November of this year. So yeah, it's it's unbelievable. You just, the culture, the appreciation it's a lot of work. Like it's super hard. Like we have to, they rent a sea can and we fill it full of medical implants and instruments, and we literally everything you need in an operation you have to take down there.
Oh, wow.
Because they just don't have the resources. So the work that goes into it from the nurses and the surgeons and pre-screening people and templating and doing clinics and setting these things up, it's tremendous. But you go down there and you experience it and you're like, well, there's nothing you'd rather do, because you actually are part of a charitable organization that is affecting people in the greatest way, right?
And it's real time.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're seeing this happen real time.
Last year was the first time I got to see some of the patients post-operative. Yeah. And I'm usually in the room when these surgeries are happening, just because I provide a service just with instrumentation in case things go wrong, and I have implant options depending on what happens in the surgery. But we don't often see ever. We enter a room when the patient is fully draped, and we leave and go to the next surgery. So we never see anyone after. So to see these people walk out of the hospital is just it's unbelievable. Like I say, it makes you feel that your efforts are you're making a change, right, and make a difference. That's what charity is all about, right? Yeah, is taking your blessings and affording other people opportunities, based off of what you take for granted.
Yeah. How'd you get involved in that?
Just because of my work, right? So I'm a manager for an orthopedic company that provides instrumentation and implants for people that are getting knee, hip, or shoulder replacements. And we work with some fantastic healthcare professionals, the surgeons, the nurses, and you develop relationships, and then you find out, like I say, this charity's been going on for probably 10 years or so in Winnipeg in terms of trips going down to Nicaragua. So it's been a privilege and very impactful to be a part of these trips that go down every year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's very cool. And just to see something come out of it, right? Like you give to charities and you
write a check or you make a bid on something, or there's an auction. You actually, you're in the rooms, you see the hospitals, you see the conditions, there's just, Canada, we're so lucky. We won the geographic lottery, right? In terms of where you're born and the opportunities you have and the wealth of this country. Yeah. And you definitely get perspective when you go down to a place like Nicaragua and you see, the suffering and what these people are going through, and your ability to make a change in people's lives. It's all you can ask for, right? Yeah. And like I said, it's the most direct inline charity anything you can do. It's not writing a check. You're actually there hands-on, and you get to be a part of this process that helps people walk again. It's pretty incredible.
Very cool. So now you feel bad for making me look it up? I'm just kidding.
Speaking of parts replacement, in your 10 years as a football player, did you remain unscathed, or do you have
parts that had to be replaced?
No, I was that was probably the most remarkable thing about my career, is that I haven't ever had a surgery. I've had my appendix out, and that's the extent of it when I was in high school. So, I was very, very lucky, very fortunate that there's guys I played with that have had 8, 9, plus surgeries, scopes, and so on and so forth. And I was just very fortunate. And my mother always told me, you walk into the game, make sure you can walk out of it. And
well, that's huge. Like,
it's pretty rare.
I think I read the stat where the average lifespan of a male in North America is like 76, and for a professional athlete, it's 54 or something like that. Yeah, because of the pounding your body takes.
Larry Allen, one of the scariest dudes I ever played against, just passed at 52. Yeah, right. So it's funny. The pension in the National Football League. I have a partial pension in the NFL, which is at 55. It's not very much at all. Yeah. But at 65, it's almost 4 times what it is at 55.
Right. Yeah. So
because they've done the math.
Yeah.
And they're like, if we can dangle this carrot,
Yeah.
And the odds, for certain positions. And as you said, the stats for professional athletes, if you wait till 65 to take
your pension,
this pension, are you even going to get it or not? Right.
But that's huge for you. Like, I mean, you have a 5-year-old daughter, and you are physically capable of doing some of these things as she turns 5, 10, 15. That's massive. I assume. Yeah.
To be, that was, I mean, I don't know. I probably wouldn't have played as long as I did had I had serious injury concerns. So, I mean, I've broken a ton of bones playing football. I think I've broken every finger on both my hands and most of my toes. And I've certainly broken my nose a bunch of times and my orbital bone and so on and so forth, but nothing that required surgery. So
it's all just broken.
So you're almost 50. You look like you're in great shape. How do you keep in such great shape?
I think the biggest thing is you just don't stop, right? And it's easy if you play in a professional, as long as you do. Like, working out has been something I've just done regularly since I was in high school.
Yeah.
And so it's just a part of who you are. It's part of your routine, right? It's the same as, some people brushing their teeth or whatever. It's part of my daily routine and habits. So it's easier in that sense. It's what makes you feel normal. And then, I mean, the benefits obviously of working out are huge, but it's what, I don't know, after a workout, no matter what has happened that day, everything just kind of gets put into perspective.
I always say that to people, some exercise or activities more than just the, the scale and the numbers that go up or down. It's a lot of mental things that happen with the, all the things that happen in your brain. Makes you feel good. Are you a runner? What do you do? Cardio? Do you do weights?
A combination of everything. Swimming? I would say. Yeah, I do a lot of swimming right now. I jump rope, I run, I lift weights. I do it all. It's very different from what I used to do when I'm football. I'm probably
You probably miss the old weight room from the old stadium.
The old weight, not so much. About 25 pounds lighter than when I played professional football, but it's you do a lot of the same stuff, just not the same weights, because there's no point to be able to. I don't need to. It doesn't help my day by day if I bench more than 400 pounds.
You're not trying to bulk up. You're just trying to.
I just want to be one. I never want to be one of those guys where you run into people that that saw you play and go, "Oh, what happened to you, man?"
Yeah. Some guys are big.
Are you sick? Did you have a, so people, you just don't want to have the awkwardness of that encounter.
And you're a radio personality, so you have to maintain a certain level of physique.
Face for radio. Exactly. You got to maintain your face for radio at all times. So
you started wearing glasses now?
We're bringing it to look smarter, right? To offset the CTE. And one of the things we're doing, actually,
I thought it was just to mimic Derek.
To combat the Bombers losing streak right now, we used to get hot dogs brought to us in the pregame show before all the home games.
Yeah.
And Derek, being heart smart and such, canceled that for this year.
Okay.
And nice, so now we're sitting at 0-3, and we're like, Derek, we need to bring back the hot dogs.
Right. And that's been the reason.
It's us doing our part.
Yeah.
To make
don't have the
football team.
Well, I saw Derek running around the tailgate there like he had been lit on fire for some reason. I don't know what was going on.
The hot dogs will put an end to that.
Or maybe he was trying to find the porta potties between breaks.
Yes, he did. He found out there was quite a line, so we just had to deal with that.
I just saw him running, and I'm like, "Where's he going?"
I remember that point in the pregame show last week. Yes, very much.
So we're coming to the end of the show here. This is the most important question of the show.
I know it's not going to be, but yes.
And you're at the panic line, so we want to get it right before the panic line on the beer there. The most important question is Doug Brown on the bridge of 50 right now talks to Doug Brown at 18 years old. What does he say to 18-year-old Doug Brown?
Get in the gym even more. I just think you never know what opportunities are going to show up on your doorstep. You never know what door is going to open for you. And I think everyone always wonders what could they have been had the pathways that were afforded to you in your career. So I don't think I was ever a person that wasn't known for having a work ethic, but knowing what I know about how far you can push yourself, if I could go back to 18, I would just live in a gym.
Yeah.
And just, maximize my physical abilities, play off the 6'8" thing kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that I think that would be it. That would be my biggest thing. I would go back and say, you just on those days when you think you're working hard, it's not enough. So it needs to be more, and that will pay off for you dividends down the road. I think that would be 100% the advice I give myself.
18-year-old Doug Brown looks at you. What does he say back?
Say, is your hair blonde or is that white?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sorry, who are you? He says.
Why do you not speak so well after your third beer? Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us. Like, it's been a great conversation. I think we've learned a little bit more about you as more of a person as opposed to just Doug Brown, the football player. You're a girl dad. You're a Winnipegger now, full-fledged Winnipegger, full-time. And you've taken on, the road trips to Transcona and looked at them as a positive.
You'll be here every second day now.
As long as there's beer.
Willing to put myself out there, right? That's what I learned. I'm like, what can go wrong? It's Winnipeg.
This is a very vulnerable space. So
it's a safe space too at the same time. It's a safe, vulnerable place.
It's very confined. It's a little warm in here now.
It's safe to be vulnerable. So anyway, thanks for watching the show. Don't forget to
like, subscribe, share. What's the fourth one?
Comment. Because Tim loves the comments. And if you want to say anything bad about Doug Brown, remember,
he's 6
he's
foot
bigger than you.
And he can beat up your dad.
Don't mess with my daughter.
Yeah, and don't mess with his daughter. And if you are, around him at the football game and tailgate, I know that he loves hot dogs now, so make sure you pick him one up. So anyway, thanks for watching the show. We will see you again next week for another episode.
Yeah, thanks to our guest again.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Doug.
That was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. There you go.
Have a good one.
Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Sharing is caring.